Linda.
Wouldn't it make more sense to have the suit deal with issues of equity and funding rather than something as obscure as civic education?
Well, first of all, after Mark Santel's really insightful and impassioned statement of the importance of civic education, I'm not sure that the premise of your question is correct. But let me be specific as a legal strategy matter. The U.S. Supreme Court has already turned down a major lawsuit that emphasized equity and funding. They're not likely to overturn that decision at this point. But as I mentioned, they left an opening. They were concerned about this question of whether the education system is carrying out its traditional responsibility to prepare kids for democratic citizenship. So I think this is a non-partisan issue. Many people ask me, aren't you concerned because the Supreme Court is much more conservative today than it was 45 years ago when they made that other decision? That may be true, but civic education is not a Republican issue, it's not a Democratic issue, it's an American issue. And I think we can appeal to all the judges. And you know, Supreme Court judges in particular have been very alert and very concerned about these matters. Justice Sandra Day O'Connor, when she retired from the court a number of years ago, went out and spent her remaining time establishing a major civic education organization, iCivics and all. Justice Sotomayor has now taken over the chairmanship of that organization. Justice Gorsuch has been very active in working with high school kids and trying to teach kids the rule of law. So I think the Supreme Court justices are more likely to approach this issue with an open mind and give us the kind of strong statement and declaration of a right to education when it is focused on citizenship. Now, once you get that kind of ruling, exactly what it's going to mean and what changes are going to come are very much going to depend on what the reaction is of the lawmakers in each particular state. And Jen was talking about how it's important for people to organize here. The Supreme Court is not going to spell out, if we win, exactly how many civics courses have to be taught, whether English language learners are provided the opportunities they need to learn English so they can be capable voters, how much more funding you need to provide a reasonable range of extracurricular activities to kids in high need, low income areas where they're starved for these kinds of things. The research, by the way, says the thing that schools can do that has the most direct causal link to later voting and participation in civics is extracurricular activities, debate societies, drama, student government, all those things. So those will cost money. But we're not going to the Supreme Court and saying, order Rhode Island to spend $1 billion. We're going to say, order Rhode Island to do what's necessary to improve the system to provide a fair, equal democratic education to all kids. And how much money that will cost ultimately, I don't know. But that's the kind of thing I think people have to begin focusing on here and begin working toward. And this case is going to take several years, but there's no reason why the publicity, the leverage that this case may bring can't help galvanize a movement to pressure the powers that be here to start working on this right now. You don't have to wait for a final ruling in this case.
Quick follow-up, is one of the reasons you folks picked Rhode Island because there's a more favorable U.S. District Court here?
Well, we looked at a number of things. We looked at the education problems. We looked at the receptivity of the community, and I've been very impressed with the strong support that this effort has gotten from the Center for Justice, from my colleagues here, from the various civil rights organizations and the students. But yes, we did also look at the different courts. I don't think courts are liberal and conservative quite to the degree that some people think, but judges have different values. And more importantly, there are legal precedents in different areas. We have 11 circuit courts of appeals throughout the United States. Some of them have issued rulings that are more favorable for the kind of case we've brought and the kind of relief we're seeking. We're in what's called the First Circuit here in Rhode Island, and the First Circuit does have some very helpful precedents. If we had brought this case in Florida, some other states we were considering, they don't have as fruitful precedents in some of the legal areas. So yes, that was a fact.